Brought to you by Hug House Productions.
Hi, hello, listener of Never Morphed. If you like this show, I am convinced you are going to love The Newest Olympian by Mike Schubert. Why am I so certain? Because that's one of the shows that inspired this show. Real ones who listen to the credits already know. Each week, Mike dives into the Percy Jackson series, which I love, joined by guests who are longtime fans of the Rick Riordan series. If you haven't read these books yet, this is the perfect way to get started and read along with Mike. They're so good. And like Animorphs, they're kids' books that touch on way more serious topics than you might expect. And they're about worldwide mythologies, starting with Greek and Roman. I know you gays love mythology. If you have already read the books and know how good they are, you'll love this series too. The dramatic irony, man. And if you know about the books from the Disney Plus series, Mike has done interviews and conversations with some of the cast of the show on The Newest Olympian too. Mike is a great host, a great editor, and obviously a huge inspiration for me. You can find The Newest Olympian in the show notes or wherever you get your podcasts. Go subscribe right now and enjoy.
Brought to you by Hug House Productions.
Welcome back to another episode of Never Morphed, the series in which I read all of the Animorphs books for the first time. As always, this podcast is about books for kids, but this podcast is not for kids. I would tell you to get out of here, but I'm not your parent. In fact, by the time you're listening to this, I will be medically incapable of ever being your parent biologically henceforth. Yeah! So like if you want to help out with that, because surgeries cost a lot of money, and this was in fact a surgery where I got a whole organ taken up out of me, patreon.com/hughousepods. But let's jump back into it with discussing book number 8 with dear friend Fresco. Find their links in the show notes. They're brilliant. You'll want to follow them everywhere and read what they're saying and see their wonderful creations over on their Etsy. But let's get to it. So chapter 8, Axe is distraught. Mm-hmm. He is out in the woods. He is just really fucking lonely. And he is thinking so much about how none of the others could ever be a true Shorm, given how Jake reacted and how suspicious he's been in reaction to Axe keeping these secrets. Mm-hmm. He is basically thinking, like, if they're not cool with me keeping secrets, then we can't be a Shorm. And they can't be a Shorm because I have to keep secrets from them. It's sad, but also I felt no sympathy for him in this moment. So Marco says, hey, we want to hang out. I want to hang out with you. Me, Marco. Yeah. And I was so scared. I was like, oh, he's going to beat the shit out of Axe. And it kind of seems like that at first, because he has this sort of intimidating, threatening presence at first. Mm-hmm. He is saying that Axe is trying to be a Pinocchio. Mm-hmm. And like telling all these lies and like, oh, you're just trying to be a real boy, but you're not. Like, it's pretty fucked up. And Axe realizes that Jake has told Marco to get more information out of him. Mm-hmm. And Marco is like, no. Jake says that we need to take you to a bookstore so that you can learn. It's so sweet. It's so sweet. Yeah. I loved this. Marco is just taking him to the bookstore so that he can get books on human history and learn about humans, because Jake thinks if Axe sees how forthcoming humans are with their fucked up history, that Axe will learn that he can be that forthcoming. And if that weren't already so fucking sweet, they all contributed to a book fund for him.
Yeah, with their limited child money.
They've just got baby money. He has like 9 quarters, I bet, but it's gonna work. It's so cute. I will say though, and now granted, this is one that I think I'm gonna put the blame on Scholastic for, because I know that Scholastic gotta sell those books for money, but I did think, like, library?
Maybe
Go to the library?
maybe
Don't
they're
spend your baby money?
maybe they're just tired of taking X to locations.
That's so fair. And also, like, it is a bit more permissible to speak words out loud in a bookstore than it is a library.
True.
So I guess there is that side. They're like, no, he's not going to shut the fuck up.
That's the missing scene.
Oh, that would have been good. That would have been so good.
There's a
like eating random shit
Oh,
at
no.
the library.
You can't eat the books.
He finds a vending machine and he's like, open up, like shaking it.
There's a line in here that I really, really like from Marco where he says, I told Jake I could cleverly weasel all the information out of you, but he said, no, Axe is a friend. Show him we have nothing to hide. Maybe he'll finally decide to trust us. I really like Marco just openly saying, like, I told Jake I could manipulate you.
Yeah.
And it also makes me wonder, like, how much of this is still Marco trying to manipulate him? Like, I don't think he's lying about what Jake said, but I think he is saying it with the intent of making Axe feel guilty.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And Marco is perfect for it.
Uh-huh. I really love his tactics.
I love that part of the manipulation tactic here is like, I'm going to be really upfront about how I'm a dick.
Uh-huh.
So maybe it's your turn. He's just putting this idea into practice in real time.
Uh-huh.
But after they get to the bookstore, he realizes that he left the money at home. So they wind up going all the way back and going to Marco's house.
Mm-hmm.
And this detail made me so happy. When they get to Marco's house, Axe is like, this is Jake's house? And Marco is like, no. We live in the same development. We actually live in the same model of house.
Yeah.
But I live here. The fact that he lives in the same model of house as Jake now, because we know that Jake's family is like middle class, maybe upper middle class, but we know they're doing fine.
Yeah.
And seeing Marco live here with his dad now is so sweet and so good. I'm so proud of his dad.
Yeah, he did it.
He did it. And I will say, this was very fast. This was like the fastest house sale I can imagine. But it's sweet. I'll take it. That's lovely. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I really love it for Marco, and I also really like that it's kind of a subtle way of showing that the status quo can change.
Yes.
Which they kind of don't put all their money where their mouth is on that later, but later in this book. But just this subtle,
but it's just knowing that they have like stability.
Yeah,
you know, like it's so good. It was such a huge relief reading that.
Yeah.
And then all of the interactions with Marco's dad are very funny because he is working on their home computer there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, also Axe thinking that this is Jake's house is more evidence that he doesn't know how buildings work.
He doesn't know how buildings work. There's no buildings. You're so right. I didn't pick up. I truly agree with you. I don't think that there's any buildings on the Andalite homeworld.
They must hate spaceships.
They must hate spaceships. So Marco is like, literally, do not speak to my father. You can say yes or no. That is it. And Axe sees on the computer before the dad is around. On the computer, there is open a, quote, little game with some like primitive symbols. And the game is to correct the symbols. So he does it. And I laughed out loud when he does this. And like, as the reader, we know that this is not a game. We know that he is like fucking with something on this computer. But then he says to himself, I win. I thought it was so fucking funny. It was a really good moment.
Yeah. Also, least relatable thing X does in this book is not steal candy from a child. It's touch somebody else's computer. Yeah. Audacity.
Marco's dad shows up and they have a little like who's on first kind of interaction where Axe can only say yes or no. And Marco's dad is like, ha ha ha, who's this crazy kid? This is very strange. And then after their little game, there is a hard cut to like, and then we went to the bookstore.
Yeah.
And that is also very funny.
Ran out of time to write this chapter.
Yes, I did think that the hard cut was a lot funnier than like the actual who's on first little
definitely.
scene.
My favorite part of the who's on first scene is that now Marco's dad thinks Axe's name is No.
Yes.
I just think that's cute.
It's really cute. Chapter 9, we get Axe in the woods and he's reading, oh my god. He's reading the World Almanac? Is that?
That's how I say it, which does not mean it's correct, but it's how I say it.
I'm just going to roll with it. I think that I just don't know how to say the first A, whether it's almanac or almanac. And I think that part of this is because when I moved to central New York, I called a certain city Albany.
Mm.
And when I got here, I got yelled at.
Oh, no.
Because it's Albany. And I think it just got me afraid of A's.
That's fair.
I'm going to go with almanac.
Okay.
So he is in the woods reading the World Almanac, which I think is precious. He is learning so much and he loves it. And one detail that I found fascinating is that books are a human invention.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I like that. And I think as a child, I just parsed that as like, oh, this author doesn't like technology. But now I'm like, no, that's really interesting implications that humans invented books.
Yes. I think it's also like, maybe these book writers are a little bit biased in favor of books.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was a really lovely little detail. I just think it's nice. I think that humans get to have something that's like very unique and special and lovely and has like interesting implications.
Yeah.
I also really like that he was like, oh my God, this is so much faster than using a computer, which is very funny because now I think that it's not. And now I use computers to tell me books at 2 times speed.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny and thought it was cute.
I'm also now wondering if Andalites don't have books because they don't want their citizens to have easily
accessible knowledge.
Yeah. If they're like, no, you have to do it on the computers or we can control what you see.
You have to do it on the computers, and you have to the computer that you can use to read information, it has a crank. You have to crank it to power it. And you can read 2 sentences a day maximum, legally.
If you read 3, you have to go kill Visor 3.
Yes. It's your duty now. So the others come in and they're pissed. Because he was not playing a game. He was fucking around with like really advanced for humans communications code for a radio telescope. And when Marco's dad looked at it, he was like, oh my God, this is so much more advanced than anything we've ever known how to do. They're saying that it's like Nobel Prize levels of innovation. And Axe realizes that he's broken a law called Ciro's kindness. And we don't quite get the full, I guess we do kind of get the full scope of this up front. It's just that Andalites are not supposed to give technology to other species. I really thought there was going to be more going on to it than that. And there kind of is, like the origin story of it. There's that. But also, I know from looking up publication dates and cover art that the Animorphs Wikipedia is called Ciropedia, I think.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, name drop. I was like so excited.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just reeling from realizing the implications of the Andalites, like, shaming people by naming laws after them.
Yeah. Whereas, like, we typically, when we have, like, Blank's law, it's typically because, like, a person was the victim of something and now there is a law to protect future victims.
Yeah.
And this is like, no, we're going to embarrass them forever. Fucked up. Classic Andalite shit.
Also, there's a line in here where Marco is trying to yell at Axe But just at that point, Marco crossed the line from thought-speaking morph back to human. His human mouth was still a beak, however, so he just squawked. I'm just picturing him angrily squawking at Axe.
It's really good. And Axe maybe deserves the squawking right now.
Yeah, I really like that. This is the scene where Marco kind of loses his cool because he's been pretty calm and collected up until this point, even through like the fucked up stuff that's been happening. But now, now his dad is involved.
And his new stability.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how long he's been in this house, it certainly hasn't been more than like a year.
Yeah.
This is new for him that he's in this lovely house again, that his dad is doing fine, that his dad has a job. Like, for that to be threatened, that is terrifying.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he loses his shit here. He earned it.
Yeah, definitely.
So while Axe is taking in all of this information, he also realizes that because this is for a radio telescope and because he's done this to the code, he has made it so that he could open communications to the Andalite homeworld and he could talk to his family.
Yeah.
But he thinks that he has to destroy it because he's broken this law. And he can't do that. And this becomes the kind of core conflict for much of this book, where he is grappling with what he thinks he is supposed to do. And for like the first time, something that he wants to do.
Yeah, that's a really good point. He's able to kind of justify his desire to call home as like, no, it's also the tactical thing to do.
Yeah, he puts it back in those like militaristic terms of like, oh, this would be smart. But we know that it's really just because he like fucking misses his family because he's lonely. And he also because he wants them to know that he's alive and also that he wants them to know that his brother is dead.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
This book gets pretty dire.
Yes. Like it's emotionally dire and the stakes are like tangibly very high. Yeah. So he, of course, lies about all of this.
Of course.
He's thinking that he might contact his family before destroying it. He doesn't say any of this to anybody. So chapter 10, my boy is so sad.
He's so sad.
He's so sad. So this is one of the scenes where he's just like running around in the fields. This is like the first scene where he's running around in a field just like thinking. I really like these scenes. He is remembering the time that he first met Elfangor face to face. Elfangor was like off at war when Axe was born. And he had talked to him through like communications before, like I'm guessing like a hologram sort of situation. But then Elfangor is on leave and he comes to actually visit and meet him face to face. And like how I was expecting Elfangor to have this like stately, stoic, royal regalness around everybody, including Axe. Axe was also expecting that. But Elfangor comes in and he's just treating him like his brother. Like he's just treating him like family. He treats him just like he treats his parents. And I thought that was so sweet.
He's just a guy.
He's literally just a guy. And still, Axe does think that it's hard to feel important.
It's just such a painful line of just, and I didn't know if you wanted to read it instead because I think it was also in your notes.
Go for it.
It was kind of a shock to me. Until then, I guess I'd thought I was the most important person in the family, but it was hard to feel very important with Elfangor around.
Yeah.
Just, oof. Which, like, apropos of nothing, this makes me wonder, like, hey, how are your parents treating you, Axe?
Literally. And we'll get to it. I don't trust that they're treating my boy the way that he deserves to be treated. And I think that part of that is probably that, it's like just Andalite culture is just fucking like this.
Yeah.
very frustrating. But it's the fact that Elfangor is treating him so normal and that he's just sweet and nice and chill. It's not like just the hero thing that Axe looks up to. It's this really down-to-earth side. And that's when Axe decides that when he grows up, he wants to be just like his brother.
Yeah. It's like Elfangor was his friend.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm so sad about them. And
I know. It's really sweetly written.
We also learn at the beginning of this chapter that the Andalite homeworld has 4 moons.
Yes, that's right. That's nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that.
I wonder if they'll ever. So one of the things that's very funny about recording How to Act for Elden, which is our Dragon Age podcast, is the developers never remember how many moons Thetis has ever. And I'm just like waiting for the moment that in these books they mistake the number of moons.
How many moons does it have? I don't know. How many wives does Watson have?
So he doesn't know if his parents know if Elfangor is dead or not because nobody survived that mission to his knowledge and to our knowledge. He knows that they don't know that Axe is still alive because nobody knows Axe is still alive except for Axe. So that's rough. And then he loses track of like where he is. Basically, he's like so deep in thought as he's running around that he gets too close to Cassie's barn. And she's like, hey, what's up? And he's like, oh, shit. And she's there as a horse.
Which I think is really cute that she was running as a horse.
She loves it. Yeah, I really love this moment where they're like kind of, because they're not supposed to like just get into morphs for whatever reason if there's nobody else around. Like there's the time constraints. It's just, it can be dangerous. And so she's like, don't tell Jake. Yeah. I just like galloping.
There's that secrecy again, too. Just don't tell Jake.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, I really liked this moment. I thought it was very sweet. And I think that it's nice that they both... There's also a moment later on where Axe talks about how he really likes flying with Tobias. It's just this like nice activity that they both do that feels good and like is relaxing. And I really like that as Axe is galloping around a process, Cassie is kind of doing the same thing. I really like all these moments where they have these like little subtle things in common that they wouldn't have known about if they didn't just like coincidentally come up.
Yeah, you know? Like that.
And I do say one of my notes here, she and Jake aren't official yet or are but are lying about it. Hypocrites, lol. Such hypocrites. So Cassie seeing Axe, she's like, want to hang out? And she asks about his studies. And Axe says that he thinks that the Yeerks are invading Earth because they are afraid of the humans.
Yeah.
And immediately, my little leftist brain was like, yeah, because we're fucked up. We've done all of these. We do the war crimes. We do them all the time.
Yeah.
Like, and that is not what was going on. That's what Cassie sort of thinks too initially. She's like, yeah, we've done a lot of really bad shit. And Axe tells Cassie that every species fights wars and every species has shit that they want to hide. It's not about that. Yeah. It's because humans have advanced so fast.
Yeah. I actually really like that it's not the wars.
Same.
I feel like I'm not going to be able to name any examples now that I'm saying this, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff where the thing that's unique about humans is that we kill each other.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the Fifth Element, this is like the big thing in the Fifth Element is like humans are wars and Earth is bad, which I love the Fifth Element. I think it's a great movie, asterisk. I think it's a very fun movie. But like it does feel a little bit cliche that this is what would make us like unique.
And like having us, sorry, go ahead.
Like when I think of humans, I don't know if you've ever done this thing in like a maybe like a biology or like a history class or some shit. I feel like I did this for some class, but I guess I couldn't really tell you what, is when you look at a graph or like a line of like the entirety of Earth's existence
Mhm.
and like where humans happened, and we're like at the very, 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 very like last point, like 0.0001% or some shit.
Right.
Nobody call me out on the numbers here. I don't care. Like I do think really often about how crazy it is in human history, like just how fast things have moved. And I think also, again, being somebody who's in the States, and knowing lots of people from places that have like actual history, like, you know, places that like there has been written history for as long as a place has existed, whereas the States, we only really have like a good collection on data after it was colonized.
Right.
But like even that, like, and even growing up sort of like not pre-computer, but I like pre-smartphone to post-smartphone, it's crazy how fast humanity changes. It really is.
Yeah, I think about it sometimes of how like just we do kind of do things so fast, and I feel like that's a good uh thing to focus on if something is going to do the humans are special trope, having it be something where you can kind of point to data like Axe keeps doing in this book and saying like it only took humans X amount of years between these two things. Of like, I was, not to get too into this, but I was raised to pretty much believe that like everything is not necessarily preordained, but that like everything's going to work out for humans because God said so type of thing.
Sure,
And
yeah.
now that I don't subscribe to that belief system anymore, I spend kind of a lot of time thinking about how like nothing is just guaranteed. We were not like
Right.
fated to do any of these things, and it's actually kind of really really wild that we've like been to space and we
Yeah.
have computers and
Right.
I guess have books and all of these things. It makes a lot of sense to me for this to be what an alien would focus on and be like, oh my god.
Yeah, like we literally, I think it's really amazing and beautiful that humans are constantly creating
Mhm,
and adapting and learning and innovating, because that's just what we do.
mhm.
Like I think that that's really amazing. I think like the human urge to like create is really, really deeply beautiful. And
Yes.
I liked that this is what made us unique here. Like, do I think if aliens were real, et cetera, that like we would actually be unique in this way? Absolutely not. But I
Right.
do think for this to be what is highlighted in this book is really beautiful.
Yeah.
It like was kind of touching for me because it's something that I really value about humanity.
Yeah,
And it was nice to see it reflected here.
definitely.
And then notably, Cassie is like, well, how long did it take Andalites to do this? And Axe is like, oh, I don't know. I don't know about all that.
Uh-huh.
Fully a lie.
Uh-huh. It's just I see, Cassie said. I believe her tone of voice is called disappointed.
Uh-huh. You had a chance, Axe, and you blew it. But then Cassie invites Axe to dinner.
Yeah.
It's so sweet. She says that he seems lonely.
Yeah, and he says, yes, I was lonely, but I didn't think the humans knew.
Yeah.
Of course
Baby,
they know.
you're not subtle, my guy.
You live in the woods.
You were all alone on a dome in the middle of the ocean, man.
Just 5 people know you exist.
Literally. And they are a different species.
Yeah. There's one other Andalite that you know of on this planet, and he's got a slug in his head.
And he killed your brother.
And he killed your brother.
And super wants to kill you.
Yeah.
And so Cassie tells him to morph into his Jake morph. And
bad idea.
Bad idea. This works, but like, okay,
So I'm just going to go forward to chapter 11 and talk about this a little bit. Because I want to talk about the chili.
Yeah, chili.
So Cassie's dad has made like insanely spicy chili. Now, granted, this chili uses habaneros and like, get real.
Yeah, the way they talk about it, I'm like, has it got ghost peppers?
Same. But I don't think. Okay, so it's either so Carolina Reapers had not been cultivated yet. I do think that ghost peppers were a thing because I think that ghost peppers are like a native pepper to India, if I'm remembering correctly, because I did look this up.
I shouldn't say because I don't know.
But I as somebody from the Southwest who used to have quite a spicy spice tolerance until my partners were all weak and I had to cook for them. I didn't have to cook for them. I love cooking for them, but I had to like really tone it back for them. Habaneros are not that spicy. Get real. But I just want to talk about this because this is not something that has been brought up in this book, and I don't know if it will ever be, but I literally can't stop thinking about it. So we see Axe eat this chili and he loves it. And it's less that he is like enjoying the flavor, and it's more that he is really enjoying having a new sensation, and the sensation being spicy. But all I can think is that he is doing this as Jake. And Jake is certainly going to be over at Cassie's house in the future. And at some point, I am positive, especially given because Axe is enjoying this so much, the dad is thrilled. He's like, I'm obsessed with you. You have to live here forever.
Good luck, Jake.
Yeah, so I am positive that at some point, whether or not it happens in the books, Jake is going to be faced with a moment where he gets to the house to have dinner. He realizes that they've made chili, and the dad, for some reason, is being like, Jake, I made the chili that you love. And Jake is going to have to grapple with, like, do I act like I can handle this? Because I know that Jake can't handle this. It's like all I can think about.
Yeah. I before this scene, I had been wondering if maybe Axe likes to eat stuff like cigarette butts because maybe he like gave himself messed up taste buds, got some wires crossed when he made his morph. But it seems like which I guess I don't think we've seen him eat cigarette butts as Jake, so that might be the case, but it seems like he's still as into food, and like specifically food that the people around him don't expect him to like when he is any other human morph. So I guess he's just really into it.
I think it's just the excitement of having this sense, because we get like over and over him talking about how like being a human is about the senses. It is a sense-based experience. And I think that he just loves that like the body will react in crazy ways to extremely spicy food. And I think he's just thrilled by that.
Which is really fun.
It's so fun. And also like as a spicy food enjoyer, I delighted in this.
I think that like the real answer to why is she having him be Jake is either they didn't have time to figure something else out, by they I mean the writers, or because having him come over as a random person would have like her parents would be probably not less nice to him, but less familiar with him and not give him that feeling of hanging out with like a family who likes him.
Yeah,
but also
absolutely.
This is the second time he's been Jake, right? Because was he Jake in book 6?
Yes.
If I'm reading this from an in-universe standpoint, I'm horrified by just the amount of alienation that these kids are already feeling towards their own families, of like they do not have time to care about like how this is going to change Jake's parents or Cassie's parents' perception of Jake. They just have to do this.
Yep. And I also think that if Cassie came over with, I would assume that he would be in like the all of them merged morph, if not Jake. And if Cassie brought over another boy.
Oh, true.
And her parents obviously love Jake.
Right.
They would have been like, who the fuck is this? Who is this? Where is Jake?
Where's Jake?
Explain everything. Hello, not Jake. What do you have to say for yourself?
Okay, more evidence that Cassie and Jake are way more official than they're letting on to the others is that Cassie's parents are super cool with her just bringing Jake home unannounced.
Yes.
And just like revealing that he's been hanging out with her.
Yes. And Cassie's mom keeps being like, Jake, you're so cute. You get cuter every time I see you. Beautiful baby boy. And like, honestly, this is kind of the whole chapter. Is like, Axe goes and eats chili and just has like a really lovely dinner with the family.
Yeah. And then
that's like it.
And then he starts crying.
Yeah. And then he starts crying. So after the chili adventures, he realizes it's almost been 2 hours, so he has to leave. So Cassie walks him out, and she asks how he liked her parents, and he was like, I liked them a lot. This was very nice. She asks him about his parents, and he feels the physical sensation of getting choked up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so sad.
And again, that emphasis on like what it feels like to be upset in a human body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like he's like, I feel like there's something blocking my throat. Yeah. Is that normal? And at first I was like, oh no, anaphylactic shock.
Oh no, he's allergic to chili peppers.
Yeah, not the habaneros. And then no, Cassie's like, yeah, it's called getting choked up, and it's normal. Mm-hmm. It's really sad and really sweet, and she asks him where his parents are, and he vaguely points to like the quadrant of space where their home star is. And she says like, hey, all of us give a shit about you. Yeah. Like, I hope that you know that like we love you. You are our friend. We care about you. You can talk to us. And instead of doing that, he says, thank you for the chili, and runs away.
Yeah, that's, oh my God. What a way to end a chapter.
I know. I really, really liked these chapters. Yeah. I really liked them.
I think this chapter was probably a big part of why I kept taking this book home from school.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah.
I really like the detail that when she's saying, we all care about you, she's like, even Rachel and Marco.
Yeah. Honestly, an important thing to add.
And also, when she asks where his parents are, he doesn't lie. He does presumably point in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I was impressed by.
Yeah. He's making progress.
He's one step forward, 55 steps back.
Mm-hmm. We also find out in this chapter that Jake's family performs a brief religious ritual before they eat.
Yes.
And that Cassie's family does not.
Yes. Which is interesting, because I know from Noah that Jake is Jewish.
Right.
And I don't think that's a thing. Is that a thing?
I have no idea. I'm wondering if it's just something they maybe hadn't decided about Jake yet.
That's what I'm guessing. I'll have to ask Noah, because I was like, hold up. I've been to dinners from many a Jewish family before, and never have they done anything even close to say grace. So I don't know.
There's also a detail in here of Axe is talking to Cassie's parents and says, I knew what this activity was. This was called making conversation. The rules were that each person would ask the other person a question. As a child, I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. We saw him talk to other Andalites. He knows how to talk to people. And now I'm like, I mean, one, even as a kid, any sense that I had of what neurodivergence was, I was definitely perceiving Axe in that way. But now I'm also like, okay, but would he be perceiving this as a game that humans use to interact with people who are higher or lower in the hierarchy than them? Because if he's thinking that Cassie's parents are like above him or something, maybe that's why he would be thinking of it that way.
Totally. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And for what it's worth, the book tries to portray him as like doing a really bad job of conversation. I don't think that's true at all. I think he's doing just fine.
Yeah, I like his fun facts.
Me too.
I just really liked so Jake, you think the Bulls are going all the way again this year? Cassie's father asked. I could tell that Cassie was growing tense. She was afraid that I would not understand the question. But thanks to my reading of the World Almanac, I knew the Bulls were a sports team. He's got
Good job,
this.
Axe.
He knows.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
He's doing so good.
So chapter 12, Axe stays up late reading from the Book of Quotes. We don't get any pulls from the Book of Quotes now. We do later. And all of the quotes except for one are no. Absolutely not. Summarily, no.
It very much feels like a book of quotes that I would have had as like a small child. That's
sure.
Of just somebody threw together all the quotes they knew.
Yeah. It's like quotes that are culturally relevant or referenced sometimes. Yeah. And he is very, very, very troubled. And one thing that I think is interesting is he wants to be able to ask his parents for advice, which like hadn't really occurred to me until this point. Yeah, his parents are the parents of like a famous hero warrior. Like, of course they're gonna know tactical shit.
That's a really good point. I didn't think about that either.
Yeah, dude, like, they would know shit. They would know what to do about how bad shit is on Earth. Like, and they would know who to ask. They would know, like, oh, maybe we should call in reinforcements. Like, yeah, this seems like a really good idea. This seems like a really good idea.
Yeah. That he should talk to the other Animorphs about.
Yeah. And I bet they would be like, hey, do that. We support you. Let's help.
Yeah.
And then he also wants them to think he's being like a brave hero here on Earth.
I'm so sad about that line.
It's really fucking sad.
He wants his parents to be proud of him and think he's being brave.
Yeah. Oh, and especially like now that Elfangor is gone, like to see that he's like carrying on that legacy. It's so sad. So, to make a sad fucking chapter even sadder, he is so in his feelings that he goes and he wakes up Tobias, and Tobias is like, what? I vibed with Tobias a lot here. He's like, I have a question to ask you, and Tobias is like, it better fucking be important. And the question is, are you my friend?
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important question of all. And Tobias is like, yeah, dude. Yeah, we're friends, man. We've almost died together like 19 times. Yeah, we're friends, man.
Yeah.
And
he kind of goes into the thing you were talking about earlier of he is seeing the ways that he and Axe are similar as an opportunity to connect instead of a threat.
Yes. Yes. I really love it. Like, he knows how to bond with Axe in a way that like nobody else can bond with Axe that way, and nobody else can bond with him that way.
Yeah.
They have really special, important things in common, and that matters, you know?
Yeah, which he sums up as Axe, we're the two strangest creatures on this planet, which I think is also really good and sad.
Yes. Yes. Really good and really sad, and I love it. And Tobias talks about how when Elfangor died, he felt like a pull, a connection with Elfangor to like really listen in. And Axe is like, well, yeah, of course you feel drawn to him. He's a hero. I still think that there's something fishy with this moment. I understand that probably I am wrong here, and probably this was just explained away very easily. I still think that there's something weird going on in that moment. But it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Everything's cool.
It's fine. And then Axe tells Tobias his plan, which I thought was crazy.
Yeah. He picked one of them to trust.
It was a good choice.
Yeah, I really like the Axe and Tobias stuff in this book.
It's really lovely. It's some of the best shit in this book for sure. So, chapter 13, Axe is doing his morning ritual. Tobias does his morning hunt. And then once they're both done, Tobias is going to lead him to the observatory.
This is also where the quote book supposedly says, E.T. phone home.
Bullshit. Absolutely not. I have had quote books before, and Cassie even says, like, this is a quote book of like important things that important people and thinkers and philosophers have said. Absolutely fucking not would E.T. Phone Home go into this quote book. Bullshit.
I think the
absolute bullshit.
I think the Ellimist put it in there to make Axe sad.
He fucking would. I fucking hate that guy.
Oh, me too.
Thank you. Thank you. Fuck that guy. So, they both get into their hawk morphs. They're riding those thermals, baby.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
very nice. This is what I was talking about with like Cassie also galloping like to blow off steam, and then Axe, you know, with Tobias riding the thermals and just enjoying that, things that they have in common. I think it's very, very nice. And then more of just the saddest shit imaginable. So Tobias notices like, hey, watch out, there's this predator here. Hey, watch out for these gulls. They can be dicks, so we should be up ahead of them. Like, he's like trying to make sure that they're safe. And Axe's narration says, I thought it must be terrible sometimes for Tobias. He lives in fear of things that no human would need to fear. He had lost his position at the top of the food chain of Earth. Hawks are predators, but they are also prey, yet he seemed to have accepted his fate. Was it possible he even preferred being a hawk? Was that why he never asked me what I might know about him being a Nothlit? And to that I say, fuck.
To that I say, I bet Tobias would also like to know this about Tobias.
Yeah. Yes. That's just so fucking sad.
Yeah.
That's just so fucking sad. I just realized that I have no idea when our next Tobias book is. And I am terrified. It's going to be so sad.
He's so sad.
He's so sad. I love him.
Me too.
So
my most important note in this scene is I highlighted a thermal is an updraft of heated air, and the note that I wrote is just in all caps, yeah, woo, I know her.
That's my best friend. Axe also thinks that Tobias might not ask him about this because Tobias might expect him to lie.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would he be wrong?
I think if I was in Tobias's situation, I would kind of just be like, either the answer is no, or he's going to tell me the answer is no because he's not allowed to share that technology with me.
Totally. So they get to the observatory, and this is when I realized that Axe has not told Tobias his plan. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
Axe has told Tobias very little. He has not told Tobias what he's doing, but he has told Tobias that he needs to go to the observatory and do something with the code that he wrote.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say what.
Tobias going along with this feels very much like he's like, okay, my friend is going to do something dangerous and possibly bad. I'm going to go along so I can try to do damage reduction.
Exactly. Like, this is a real, like, Tobias is the friend that you call to bury the body. Yeah.
He's very chill with just not knowing what the fuck is happening this entire chapter.
Yeah. He's a real one for this, too. Like, every time, and I think part of this is also probably Tobias knowing Axe and knowing that if Axe is going to trust him, which is what they want. Like, ultimately, their goal here is to get Axe's trust that he'll give them information and that they can all be on the same page. And I think that Tobias knows that if he is going to prove to Axe that he is a friend for real, he has to be a friend for real. He has to fucking show up. He has to keep those secrets, like, until he absolutely cannot.
Yeah.
He did a great job here.
Yeah, I'm proud of him.
Me too. So chapter 14, they go into the observatory. It seems mostly empty. And at this point, Tobias has to leave because he can't just be like a bird in the observatory. The observatory is like new-ish. It's not quite like started all the way. It's still like, it seems like it's still in the process of like being either built or established, which makes sense for why they are now putting in this new software. They can hear humans talking in a group in another room.
Also, I love his dialogue with Tobias before Tobias leaves. It's very like they're both acknowledging that Axe is hiding stuff from him and that Tobias isn't thrilled about it, but they're not stopping to have a whole fight about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you have that quote pulled up?
There's a couple different ones. One of them is just Tobias saying, according to Marco, this place isn't really operating yet, so I don't know how many people will be around, but we need to find a place to land so you can morph into something useful and do whatever.
Yeah, that's
Tobias,
right.
is that sarcasm, the way you ask me what I'm doing? No, it's not sarcasm. I think it's called being snide. To which Axe just says, thanks for explaining.
I love it. I love it. And then, like, very astute, Tobias. That's true. Yeah. That is being snide.
Yeah. And then, like, a page later, Axe is saying, I will need fingers. And Tobias says, for, and Axe says, for whatever it is I'm doing.
Yep.
I just really like that they're not like stopping the whole plot to have a fight. They're just kind of sniping at each other as they do this.
Yes. Like a good friend.
Yes.
So regardless of the fact that Axe can hear human people talking somewhere in this building, he's like, I'm just gonna stick in my Andalite morph. It's fine.
It's fine.
Terrible idea. Terrible. I get that. And he's like, if I do get through, I want them to see that I'm an Andalite and like, I want my parents to be able to see me. Sure. Still a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Still bad. So he gets to a computer and fucks around with it for 10 minutes. And there's this moment where he's like, yeah, it took 10 minutes for me to advance human technology by a century.
Yeah.
Terrifying. And he gets through. He gets through.
Yeah. He just does it.
He just does it. He just does it. It's just that easy. And he announces himself with his full name and says that he's on Earth.
Yeah.
Chapter 15. So the Andalite that he is connected to is Ithaliran Halas Karain, who is the head of planetary comms. And he's like, hi, so what's up? And Axe is like, I want to talk to my mom and dad. And he's like, sure, you can do that. So can you give a report? And so Axe gives his report, and Ithaliran is like, oh, okay. I have to go get my manager real quick. And he pulls into frame Liram Arapoth Terrace, who is the head of the council. He is an old veteran, and I hate him.
Oh, same.
He is awful.
One of my notes somewhere on something this guy says is just all caps, motherfucker.
Truly. My notes are like in his little note for like, this is a new character. I said, a real bitch, TBH. And then I said, not in the gay way. I'm insulting him. He's such a bitch. I fucking hate this guy.
Yeah.
So Axe is now talking to Liram.
The president.
And Liram is like, hey, so I heard you say some crazy shit. Can you just like recap that for me real quick? And Axe is like, hi, yeah, so I am all alone and the Yerks are here and my brother is dead and it's bad. And the humans can morph because Elfangor gave them morphing technology. And also I can talk to you because I accidentally gave them talking to community technology. And Liram is like, oh, that's so crazy. So like you both broke the law? You broke Ciro's kindness? And Axe is like, yeah.
Liram, when he's talking about Ciro's kindness, he says Ciro transferred technology to a weak backward species, which I highlighted and just wrote, Jesus, dude.
Yeah, seriously. This guy fucking sucks.
Uh-huh.
Not a word that comes out of his mouth is okay.
No, none of it.
So then, this bitch has the audacity to be like, wow, it would be like so fucked up if I had to tell our people that Prince Elfangor, the hero who everybody loves, that he broke the fucking law.
Mhm.
And he's like already dead. And you broke the law too. And you're like not even important. So are you like positive that it was
Mhm.
Elfangor who did that and not like you?
The line, was it truly Elfangor who gave this technology to the humans, is the specific line where I wrote down, "Hi Will, how does it feel to be so right about the Andalites?"
I'm so fucking right. I fucking hate them. I hate Andalite culture. I hate this shit. And I fucking hate this Andalite president so much.
Mhm.
This shit is so fucked up. And is so, like, again, like, of course they fucking love lying. They're constantly lying and doing propaganda to all of their people. It's awful.
Mhm.
And Axe, of course, is like, oh shit, my bad. You're right. I guess it was me who broke the law 2 times, and my dead brother has never done anything wrong. And so
Mhm.
he can go down in perfect glory forever, and I'll just be the one that everybody hates.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. There's the line that guts me is just Lyram says, "What's done is done. Perhaps in some way I am too old to see this may all work out for the best." Yes, I said blankly. Why had I done this? Why had I communicated with my home? He's been just all book. He's been desperate for contact with the Andalites, for somebody who he can trust on the home world to tell him what to do, and he gets this fucker.
Yeah, and he gets told what to do, and what to do is, hey, ruin your life more.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Mhm.
Like, capital T tragic.
Yeah.
I was like blown away by this.
Yeah, this is, for me, this is the biggest like wham moment in this book.
Yes. Absolutely.
And the kind of a secondary wham moment is finding out that Lyram just kind of let the Hork-Bajir die.
Yeah, straight up. So I was like a little turned around here. But we know that, like, so he was tempted at one point to give technology to the Hork-Bajir that would have saved them
Mhm.
from being fully enslaved by the Yeerks.
Mhm.
And he was like, and I didn't. I let a genocide happen, and it was the right thing to do. I fucking hate this guy.
I was an advisor to the Hork-Bajir. They were our allies, but they were not Andalites. They were not our people. That is the line where I just wrote, motherfucker.
Motherfucker. Jesus Christ. This guy is the fucking worst.
Uh-huh.
Ugh. And then he's like, anyway, here's your dad.
Yeah. Also, Axe getting angry at him here, where it says, I knew I should shut up, but part of me was getting angry, but the Hork-Bajir ended up losing everything.
Yes.
And
he's fucking right.
I'm glad he's getting mad at this guy too. I'm glad somebody's getting mad on behalf of the Hork-Bajir, even if it's only incidental. I'm so mad for them.
Yes. Absolutely infuriating chapter. And I mean that in like a good way.
Mhm.
This was really well written. Made me so mad.
Uh-huh. This was like, this set every precedent in my brain for like, maybe I should think about like what the president says, or
yes,
even local politicians, or just like anything that I'm being fed as like, this is what makes America great, or this is how Americans should interact with other cultures. I think these books gave me like the baseline of maybe I shouldn't just accept all of that unquestioningly, because the adults in my life were not really giving me that.
Yeah, man, thank God for these books. I'm so glad that you had them.
Me too.
So, chapter 16 I was like, oh, this is going to be my favorite book in the series so far. It really got my hopes up. So Axe talks to his papa, and it's very sweet and very sad. He tells him that Elfangor is dead. He tells him that he's still alive on Earth. They do this like grieving ritual in which the father reminds Axe that it is his duty to avenge his brother's death.
That's such a like tragic contrast with like a page before that where his father is calling him Aximili Kala, which is this nickname he has for him.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then just this ritual that like I can see how in some circumstances it would be a comfort, it would be a useful thing to help process grief, but in this case it's a father basically telling his son that he has to go die to avenge his other son.
Yeah. And like nobody wins in that situation.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Oof.
And then pretty much immediately after that, they get cut off.
Mm-hmm.
And in the moment, I was like, ooh, like I was like excited. But then as soon as I finished the chapter, I was like, now hold up. That doesn't make any sense. Why the fuck? Why would the character who cuts them off, why would he do that? That is not consistent with his character. That does not make any sense. There is like literally no reason. He would have, what the fuck?
He should have been like trying to get intel from that.
Right. Or even just like, because the character who cuts him off, we'll see, wants Axe to do something for him.
Right.
Like, hello? Let him keep talking to his dad? Get on his good side? Like, hello?
Yeah.
No sense. No sense.
I'm glad that at least before the connection cuts, Axe gets to hear his father say, I'm so relieved to see that you are still well.
Yeah, seriously.
Like,
seriously.
That's nice. But yeah, just, I'm going to screw up this emotional moment you're having and then ask you for a favor.
Yes. So he is stopped by a human controller who announces himself with like a normal human name, and then gives his actual Yerk name, which is Eslin 359. Mm-hmm. And first off, Eslin, really good to say. Second off, 359, like Wolf 359. The very good audio drama and also Heavenly Body. Love this. Love Eslin 359. He is my best bitch. I'm obsessed with him. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling this is the only time that we'll ever see him, and I'm furious about that. Because I'm immediately, I adore him. He's my best friend.
Write that fan fiction, Will.
I have to. If anything, if I write fan fiction about anything, well, I say this now. There's like quite a few books to go. But this is this one. This one. So Eslin has a Dracon beam. Mm-hmm. And he's aiming it at Axe, and like there is a scuffle, and then Tobias comes in and saves the day, and he bloodies up the shirt of the human controller and like takes a scrap of the bloody shirt, which will come into play later. Mm-hmm. And Eslin is like, hey, calm the fuck down. I just want to talk. And Axe is like, you are literally pointing a gun at me. Put the gun down. And Eslin is like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. And he just does, which I was not prepared for, nor was Axe prepared for. And he puts down the Dracon beam and he kicks it away. And he's like, literally, I just want to talk to you. They have this sort of like back and forth that's really catty, mm-hmm. And really satisfying, where Eslin is like, hi, your brother and my best friend have something in common. Mm-hmm. And it's that they're both dead. And also you want to know what the same guy killed them both. Visser 3 killed his bestie, Darene is how I'm saying this. Perhaps Darane. Who's mm-hmm. to say? Darene 344. They were from the same pool. They grew up together. They lived their lives together. And he tells them that after they destroyed the Kandrona beam, Visser 3 told them all, like, hey, it's fine. Everybody's gonna live. I've got a plan. And it's Visser 3. He's not good at anything. So, of course, he was lying. And his method for dealing with this was to take a bunch of Yeerks that he deemed important and ferry them back and forth to the Kandrona beam on the mothership. And he just let the rest die.
Mm-hmm.
This is so fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, really, really fucked up. Actually, even, man, kicking it back to our previous conversation about Amazon and the pandemic, it really had some, like, essential worker feelings. Yeah. This was fucked up. And Eslin also thinks that it was fucked up and that his best friend wasn't fucking expendable. And now, he wants revenge on Visser 3. And I have been waiting for this moment. I have been waiting for a Yeerk to show up and help the Animorphs take down Visser 3, have like a momentary truce to fucking overthrow Visser 3 because he's so fucking bad at his job. He's killing people left and right. It's not a sustainable way of leading. He's pissing everybody off. Everyone can see that he's not doing a good job. He's in the shit with the council. Like, I have been waiting for this moment. I was so fucking thrilled. And this is maybe why the end of the book made me so mad.
Yeah. I was really happy for you in this chapter.
I really was like, this is it. This is it. This is it. This is my moment. This is my moment. This is going to be my favorite book. So Axe is like, okay, what do you want me to do? And Eslin is like, Visser 3 is in an Andalite body, which means that he feeds like an Andalite, and he feeds alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the location for where he feeds. And he gives him a slip of paper with the location written on it. And he says, you've got a day to prepare. He is going to be there. Fucking kill him.
Yeah.
It's so sick. It's awesome. I was so alive.
Do you think he knows that Axe is a child?
No.
I think he's just like, oh, this one's smaller.
Yeah, straight up. And I think even if he did, I don't think it would really matter to him in this moment.
Yeah.
Fucking sick. This is so cool. I love this. I love him. I'm obsessed with him. He's my new favorite character. Perhaps he's not, but he's up there. I adored this moment. I thought this was so fucking cool. I was so ready for this shit.
Yeah. I'm intrigued by the line where he says, and I want him to pay with his life the foul half-Andalite scum. Which, like, there's so many implications there of, like,
yes.
Do the Yeerks, or does this Yeerk think that Visser 3 is, like, becoming too much one with his host? Do they think, is this guy projecting that, like, maybe the bad parts of Visser 3 are because he's in an Andalite?
Man, and even, like, do they just consider a full Yeerk body, Yeerk plus host?
Oh.
And are they even seeing that as, like, 50-50? Like, that on its own is wild implications.
Yeah.
Because I would think that Yeerks think of a Yeerk body, like a Yeerk identity, as just the Yeerk body. But it makes a lot of sense that they would think of the full Yeerk form as Yeerk plus controller.
Mm-hmm.
Wild.
Yeah. There's so much happens in this chapter.
Yeah. So much happens. When I was, like, going back, because I was looking for, like, making sure that I had all the names right. So I clicked to, like, the start of the chapter, and I was like, what the fuck do you mean he's still talking to his dad at the start of this chapter? What? This chapter is crazy. So much happens. And it happens so fast, but it flows really well. But I don't have a lot of notes. I think mostly because I was just like, I just had like air horns going off in my head, like, yeah, let's fucking go.
Yeah. Just very, very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I found it interesting that Eslin is very willing to kill other people as well in revenge, because he says he sabotaged one of the shuttles.
That's right. That's right. Oh my God, that's a huge detail. Yes. So he is the reason that the Yerks in these controllers' heads have been dying. He's the reason for the guy in the parking lot. He's the reason for the teacher, is because he sabotaged one of the ships to get Visser 3's favorites back onto the mothership. So, like, in a way, them knocking out the Kandrona did lead to these Yerks dying. It's just a step removed. Yeah. And the step removed is him doing even more damage. Fucking sick as hell. I love this guy.
Me too. we get details from him on kind of perception of the Andalites by other species, at least the Yerks.
Yeah.
Because Axe says, do you expect me to feel badly about destroying the Kandrona? And he says, no, I expect the usual Andalite self-righteousness and hypocrisy from you, Eslin spat. Andalites, the meddlers of the galaxy. And
fucking true. He's right. He is right. Unionize. The Yerks are right. They're just trying to live. I am fully aligned with this guy.
I feel like they could get so many hosts by just asking.
Yeah, straight up. Straight up.
Also, he calls Elfangor Beast Elfangor.
Yes, which makes sense because he was probably like slaughtering them.
Right.
Ugh.
Just very. As a child, I wish I could remember which book I read first, because I feel like this would have been a huge turnaround for me to see the Andalites as like anything other than the heroes who the human kids are waiting for.
Right.
But I'm wondering if I read this one first and just read the rest of the series just expecting that. Of just, no, they suck, I know.
Yeah. It's very funny coming into these as an adult and always being like, I don't fucking trust these guys. They're never coming.
just kind of going, yeah, I see what's going to happen here.
Never Morphed is hosted, edited, and produced by Will Williams. Our theme music is The Chase by Joey Hendricks. Our title is by Eddie Feely, and this podcast would not exist without Mike Schubert's podcast, Potterless and the Newest Olympian. You can find his works at shub.es, that's shub.es. Never Morphed is a proud member of Hug House Productions. You can find more at hughouse.productions and follow us on Tumblr at Nevermorphed. Get morphin'! On March 27th, 2024, Elon Musk was deposed in a libel lawsuit filed by Ben Brody. Musk's lawyer, Alex Spiro, tried to retroactively mark the deposition as confidential, but it wasn't.
Of course I can ask him, do you think you committed actual malice? Do you think you were reckless? Of course I can ask those questions.
The deposition is a new Hug House podcast reenactment of the entire deposition, word by word, in full, taken very seriously.
Things that he did wrong.
But that's the point. That's not what you're allowed
Until he really just can't anymore.
Not what you're allowed to do in the deposition. You can't just get him talking.
The deposition drops on the 4th of July, 2024, with 4 weekly episodes. Subscribe on your podcatcher of choice or find us at hughouse.productions today.